Oh my gosh, not taking things personally is such a hard one. It is such a tricky thing to do. Now, the good news is that we can get better with this one through practice. We can actually learn to develop a bit of a thicker skin. It doesn't mean that there's still not going to be things sometimes that do get in there and really throw us off or really upset us or really hurt us or really make us question or doubt or second guess ourselves. But there are some things that we can do to learn how to not take things so personally, or at least bounce back a lot quicker than we might have before. If you're new to me and this is the first time we're connecting, my name is Kristina, and I'm a registered therapist, researcher, and online course creator. I have a master's degree in counseling psychology, and I work to help men and women get through the crap that is holding them back so they can like themselves and their lives more every day. And taking things personally and really getting stuck in swirling around in our heads and beating ourselves up and letting ourselves get really down when someone says or does something that we just mind read or fortune tell or assume is personal is not good for us. And the truth is that most of the time, very little is actually personal. Now, we've got a couple things going on here. We're going to talk about 3 things that we can do to learn how to not take things so personally that we can start working on right away. But there are a couple different things going on when we do take things personally. So there's the one hand when someone is being overt with their criticism or with their rejection or whatever it is that they've done or said that's not very nice. There is that's going on, that's very overt and obvious. But then there's the other part, the mind reading part, they must have been thinking this, or they probably assumed this, or what if this was going on? And then we take it personally, we just make assumptions and we read into things and we pretend that we are telepathic and can read people's minds. And then we let that spin us into a tailspin. Neither of these are good, but we're going to talk more about the former, more about when somebody does do or say something to us really overt, that's not very nice, or that's kind of hurtful, or even a little bit hurtful, that sometimes we can take something even pretty small and spin ourselves down into a spiral with not a lot that they did or said. But we do, because we're relational beings, because we are a lot of us, not all of us, but a lot of us are really sensitive. We don't want to feel like there's any kind of disconnect or discord in relationships. So the first thing that we need to remember is, like I said a minute ago, that very little to nothing is personal. And so what do I mean by that? Even if somebody is being rude or nasty or mean or critical, chances are, especially if you haven't done anything to deserve it, it's because they are going through their own shiz. It's because they are having a bad day. It's because they are feeling vulnerable, or they're feeling insecure, they're feeling bad about themselves. And so they are taking it out on you. And then we know that, a lot of times when people are struggling, they like to try and boost themselves up by putting somebody else down. So it's not about you, it's about them. And they are taking their stuff out on you. And you know the saying, you probably heard it before, that only hurt people hurt people. So it's only out of our hurt that we hurt somebody else. When we are feeling good and comfortable and confident with ourselves and secure in who we are, we don't think to go around tearing other people apart and calling other people down and trying to make other people feel small and insignificant. So little to nothing is personal. The next thing that we can do is know ourselves, to get to know ourselves, to really work on knowing who we are and what we're all about and what our strengths and what our weaknesses are, and sort of just really just paying attention to ourselves. And so then if somebody says something kind of nasty or mean or critical, we can take a second and say, is that congruent with who I know myself to be? I know myself well, and that person calling me that thing or saying that thing to me, that person telling me that I'm a failure because I didn't succeed at this one thing or these couple things. No, I know that I'm not a failure. I know that I've had failures. I know that I've not always done everything perfectly, but I am not a failure. And so getting to know ourselves well, if somebody says to you, oh, you're really stupid, if you know that you are not stupid, if you know that you're actually quite bright and quite smart. Now, it doesn't mean that you know everything about everything all the time, but really getting clear on knowing yourself. And these are some really surface examples, but getting to know yourself well will help you to be able to deflect those things really easily, because you're like, you know what? That doesn't hold any weight. That doesn't stick. That isn't true. And so it's not personal. It can't be something that I'm going to get all bent out of shape about because it's just not true. I know myself, and that is not congruent. But then the third one that is actually really important to do as well, we don't often talk about this one, that if someone has said something not very nice to us, if they've been kind of critical, they've been rude, they've been nasty, to try and read between the lines and extract the nastiness out of it and take kind of what they're saying and be able to ask ourselves in these times, is there any truth to this? Now, if they said to me, oh my gosh, you're such a selfish, self-absorbed narcissist, they probably could have said that in not quite such a harsh, nasty, mean way. But being able to take a second and be able to say, okay, did I do something that did come across as selfish? Was I acting selfish in that situation? So being mature about it, even if they were not being mature in how they said it, being able to take a minute and reflect and be honest and say, you know what, maybe I was acting a little bit selfish that time, taking our own personal responsibility for our stuff instead of just saying, I'm not listening to them, they're just being nasty, they're just being mean, which they are, fair enough, not the best way to talk about how they're feeling by criticizing, condemning, or judging, but being able to take a second and say, okay, is there any truth to this? Is there something that I maybe need to work on? It doesn't mean that I'm going to spiral myself into saying I'm a terrible, awful, horrible, selfish, self-absorbed person and now everybody knows. It's just being able to be responsible and say, you know what? Was there any truth to that? Is there anything that I need to work on here? And it's really important that we are mindful, that we are honest with ourselves, that we do take the time to reflect on this stuff and to not spiral down in it, to look at the bigger picture, to see, is this person going through their own stuff? Do I know myself? And is there anything that I can actually reflect on and learn from this? That last one is a tough one to do, but it is a powerful and important one to be able to do as well. A great way to learn how to be more connected to ourselves and understand ourselves and a lot more in tune with ourselves is to learn to become more mindful, to become more present, to be paying better attention to what is. And I have a free mindfulness audio exercise for you that you can do anytime, any place. You can grab the link below. And if you're new to mindfulness, when you get the audio, you'll also get a link to a video that explains what mindfulness is. Just learning how to become more present without judgment, without evaluation, while just noticing what is. And that's a really great way as well to get to know ourselves better. Come and join our Facebook group if you haven't already, goodformegroup.com. It is full of some of the most genuine, warm, encouraging, empathic, lovely, fun men and women. Goodformegroup.com. I'll put the link below. If you haven't, subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it out, leave your comments. I'd love to hear some things that you've done, some things that help you to not take things so personally. The more we can share the knowledge in our community and help each other out, the better. Until next time, take good care.